unbreakable, everlasting, and immortal. We use these words to describe a legend. Hello everyone and welcome back to our episode of Showcase on Elden Ring. By today's request, we're going to do the Greatsword. Not to be confused with the weapon category, it is a colossal weapon. Alright, so in terms of doing this weapon, of course there's a lot of baggage with it, not associated with the game. The description reads, a coarse iron lump of an ultra greatsword, mows down foes by utilizing its incredible weight. Though handling it likely requires the wielder to surpass the realm of merely human. It is precisely for this reason the weapon is used to slaughter even inhuman foes. Now, this is beyond on-the-nose description for what the manga anime by the name of Berserk. Wielded by its main protagonist, Guts. And of course, the special skill is the Stomp, the uppercut variant. But before we get into that, let's about Guts that is. Stats-wise, well, physically it is quite powerful. In fact, it's one of the more powerful colossal greatswords. It's going to be trip me up this whole video. Going on the scaling, you can see we got strength in C and E for dexterity. Big whoop. Physically, it makes actually a pretty decent shield, I might say. But attributes required, you need a lot of strength and a bit of dexterity, but yeah, you're investing in a strength build. And of course you got the special ability. But importantly, this is the heaviest colossal greatsword, because here's the Zweihandler, which normally would start this category with, but we had a quest for this one. But that is the major drawback to this weapon. Even though it doesn't look the heaviest, it is the heaviest. There's some that come close, but none are quite as heavy as this greatsword. Alright, let's talk about a few things about it physically. Alright, this thing is obviously not designed in the realm of humanity. It's designed after this. Guts' original sword, which for best of me, I tried to look up the name, but it's simply called Guts' Raider Sword, as he was the lead of the Band of the Hawk's Raider platoon, and he mowed down a great many people with this said blade. So, that show, or anime, manga, however you wish to absorb it, the weapon is not quite to this proportion though. That's where the Dragon Slayer comes in, as the show takes a even darker turn than it's normally dark, halfway through, or a third of the way through, depending on which source material. And basically you could say that this greatsword's amalgamation of the two. You got Guts' Raider Sword with the proportion of the second sword, known as the Dragon Slayer. In reality though, there's no real equivalent for this sword. It is far too large. Even Guts' variant in the manga or anime is larger than most claymores. Then again, the show is anything but normal. So let's move on to some animations. So using a colossal weapon, well, no surprise, the weapon is hard to swing. Though I like the animations of when your character swings it off to the backside, he turns his body to instigate another similar spin. That's a good use, though your shoulder will be thrown out after the first swing. So here's the power attack, and somehow your character draws over his head with one hand. Not even Guts can probably do that, I don't think. The Dragon Slayer takes two hands. So yes. Okay, and then we have the backstep attack, which you basically use the thing as a giant heap of iron and crush your opponent, because you won't be cutting him with this thing. Okay, so we got the rolling attack, which is you somehow jab with the weapon straight forward, using that length. Impossible with that weight. It must be weighing at least, I don't know, 70 pounds, maybe greater? Good question. So, as you can see here, that the rolling power attack does not exist. The sprint attack is, well, it's normally like a normal attack, but a lot quicker. At least somewhat quicker. And of course you can chain combo into normal attacks with it, since it's so similar. And that might be useful or not, depending on how you use this blade. Or, I guess a lump of iron, if I want to continue the joke. Anyway, here's the sprinting power attack. Now, it's a quick overhead strike, but I find it weird, the animation, if you were to continue the attack. Your character draws it over his head, almost like he's popping that shoulder. Really weirdly, but no matter. Okay, then we got the jumping attacks, which your character barely swings at a time for it to hit the ground. But for the power one, makes sense. You are now deliberately dropping that weapon on your opponent and probably crushing them to death. I also forgot about the crouching attacks, but here they are. You again jab with that gigantic blade, lump of iron, etc. And of course the crouching power attack does not exist. Alright, 2 at a time. Now, to be honest, chances are you're wielding this with 2 hands regardless. The advantage is, well, you get a bit more damage. Attacks for normal, the basic attack, well, it's the same. Your character even spins, turns their body to do the extra spin quickly. So yeah. And of course you got the power attacks here. And of course those can be charged. So when you're wielding this with 2 hands is a bit more of a realistic idea, especially when you consider how heavy the thing might be. But all the attacks are very identical. Or not identical, but very similar to their single-handed counterparts. Okay, when you roll, you do, again, jab with the weapon with 2 hands. It makes, it's more believable this time, though I don't think anyone has the strength to actually do that. And of course, the rolling power attack doesn't exist. Sprint attack, you're, again, normal attack, and you can chain into it. And of course, you got the sprinting power attack. Again, bringing the giant thing overhead and crushing someone with it. Okay. Next, let's see. We got some crouching attacks again. Again, to crouch, you could use that full length of that blade. It's a little iron thing. And of course, the crouching power attack does not exist. And that leaves the jumping attacks. And again, doesn't matter one-handed or two-handed, your character barely times that swing in tandem with your jump. Just barely getting the thing down in time. Alright, let's see, that leaves the ability, Stomp. So, Stomp comes in a couple forms, but we got the uppercut variant here. This is good for breaking a lot of stances. Alright, so I'll show the mana depletion. You can see that you can just plainly use Stomp. It will take mana both for the Stomp itself and the follow-up uppercut attack. Using Stomp alone, well, I'm not sure there's a whole lot of point to it. Never seen a whole lot of point to it. I'm not sure there's increased poise in this game. I'm not sure about the poise question still. Anyway, here's it on the horse. This weapon's pretty crappy to use on a horse. As you see, the attack is only 1 animation. Very slow, very awkward. You can hold the power attack to hold the weapon in place and drag it along the ground and strike enemies. Though I don't think this weapon's really designed for horseback. You don't really utilize the length of the weapon itself. So I think you have not really gaining any advantages other than distance and speed. Now where to find the weapon, you'll find it in Caelid around here. And I'll show you. So first you'll also demonstrate using the weapon. So when using a colossal weapon, you must leverage basically the weapon itself. You're attacking once or twice at most, unless you exploit your opponent's size or groups to weakness. That said, you can fight a group of opponents very easily with such a weapon. So here's where you'll find the thing itself, but of course I was interrupted, and I figured to go into that. So when you have an opponent that travels quickly, that's, in my opinion, when these weapons kind of fall short. You can jab them and you can stab them, but just because an opponent moves quickly doesn't mean that they're weak. Take that giant crow, for instance, it moves incredibly quick. The hounds here, not so much. I'm not sure the actual technical name. But yes, they leverage their size to gain speed. And that said, well really, you're just supposed to jab them. And that said, using this giant weapon to hit such a large opponent, you do have that reach to guarantee a hit. Okay, with that out of the way, that place in Caelid, fight those guys, open this chest in this carriage, and then you got yourself a greatsword. Alright, so, a few words I'm going to mention about stance breaking. I am now in the second playthrough, and I am now aware that stance while breaking is no longer the same, or it's the same but the values have changed. It's all scaling on your enemy's poise, I guess? So despite the same equipment, same shield, it takes more than a couple hits to get through the shield. So I now see, depending on your playthrough, your opponents will have more stats. It's like, why no one will mention that? At least the places I look. But no matter. Going against a troll, I have to actually upgrade the weapon yet, so let's just purely see if stance breaking, or poise breaking, however you want to word it these days. As you can see, just doing normal attacks against a troll, it can sort of get there, but not effectively. Damage-wise, even against this, it's not very good, but keep in mind, second playthrough. But using the Stomp, it takes just 2 hits. In the first playthrough, that is. Okay. Now, going on to upgrades here. Here's what the damage value looks like, with almost as much strength as you could possibly get. So yeah, that's a lot of damage. But in terms of what I'll be using in the video, I'll be using the quality version, since it utilizes both strength and dexterity for my build and get the maximum damage value as I can. Anyway, I'll be right back as you guys watch the stats. So that is a lot of damage in those values. Okay, so now with the weapon fully upgraded, fighting a troll, well, this is a lot easier. Doing a heck of a lot more damage, and this is against the one in the mountain still. So using one full charge attack and a couple light attacks, brought him to his knees, and yeah, that's doing a lot of damage. Even though I'm not a big fan using these large weapons, I can definitely see their appeal. And I guess if you are trying to roleplay as a certain someone, you wouldn't use anything else. Alright, but using against large opponents is kind of the idea. How about small opponents? Well, let's take it to Haligtree. And well, it works just as good, especially against groups. But damn, does the damage is just colossal, as the name category states. Although you gotta really time your strikes correctly. That's the only downside, is the slow swing speed of such weapons. But if you can time it right, you can generally fell your opponents in one hit. Alright, let's get a sneak attack in here. Let's see, how much damage we got? Okay, he's dead. Skill 1 to 10, he dead. Next, opponents trying to guard against the weapon is pretty fruitless. Even a tower shield won't stand up forever. But unfortunately, I couldn't get footage of the tower shield because it wasn't there yet. But no matter. So, next question is, will fighting against Clean Rot Knight be easy or difficult? Well, let's go take a check here, because using a full charge attack against the enemy from behind, well, that was a lot of damage, but it provided no challenge. And of course, me doing that woke up the dude and he came out to visit me. So, of course, me whiffing my first attack, misjudging when you'd start swinging. Because using this weapon, it's best you have really heavy armor and get some good poise so you're not interrupted with these attacks, as I do recommend. Of course, I try to cosplay as best as certain characters, so maybe it's not the best armor to use, but you can see I stagger them with every hit, so that is pretty damn good. It is now time for pros and cons on the Greatsword. On the pro side, you are outputting a tremendous amount of damage. Alright, the weapon has, with that tremendous amount of damage, does have an amazing amount of scaling for strength builds. And it's pretty iconic to some people. I'll put that as a pro as well. But that's it for pros. On the cons, it is the heaviest colossal sword of its category. And like all the other weapons in the category, they are all quite slow to swing. Alright, and that's pretty much the only major drawbacks to using this darn thing in terms of pros and cons. Now, moving on to the score. Damage, oh, that gets an A, easily. That's a lot of freaking damage. Reach, it has lots of reach, so that's a B+, given that it's just a colossal sword in size. Animations, solid B. It didn't invent the wheel or reinvent the wheel, but still decent animations for a large weapon. Scaling goes in tandem with damage, another A. However, Miscellaneous is where it takes a bit of a fall at C. I'm going to give that just a solid C. Mainly because of the weight, and the fact of the other weapons being lighter and getting close to the same damage values. But oh well. Overall, I think the Greatsword gets a solid B for pretty much being an overall good weapon for a strength user. Oh, I forgot to put... I should put that in cons, I needing lost strength. I'll just put that in ahead of time. Have it listed. But no matter. So overall, good weapon for a strength user. So in conclusion, the weapon's amazingly strong. And so it should be. That's the expectation that's been placed upon it. But needing such a high amount of strength kind of locks you into one build. Unless you spend way too much time in the game like I have and build some weird all 4 categories build and have to continuously juggle it. Still, the weapon's awesome, and being a fan of the source material myself that it's inspired by, definitely looking forward to Volume 41 coming out very shortly here, hoping that the torch can still be carried and we can get a conclusion in that story. But I think this inclusion in here in Elden Ring has been perfect, as I believe Miyazaki was heavily inspired by the source material of Berserk there. And maybe that'll continue to be the case in the future. But that's been Showcase for today, but thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you guys next time. Take care out there.